Anyway, let's talk about the voice. I mean, why not? Let's talk about the voice. We haven't done enough voice.
We have not done enough voice. No.
One thing that I found very disturbing, James and Rita, was we've kind of overlooked, because it's the other side of the continent. In Western Australia, they've introduced this Aboriginal Cultural Heritage Act. Now, this is a bit of news from WA about how they view what has happened.
July 1, new law will look to preserve Indigenous sacred land by demanding permits for digging on properties more than 1,100 square metres. The Aboriginal Cultural Heritage Act will impact anyone clearing trees, building a pool or putting in a fence. But WA farmers fear this red tape could cost them their livelihoods.
So hang on.
That can't be true.
1,100 square metres, that's the family, that's a household
quarter-acre block.
That's a quarter-acre block.
1,000 square metres is a quarter-acre block.
Putting in a pool, digging a fence, whatever,
so
planting something.
You don't have to just go through all the regular things you already go through in council. You now have to get an
Aboriginal Cultural Heritage.
And I tell you, that is not only wastes time, it is costly, it's a layer of bureaucracy, and it's also your land. This is your land,
not any longer. It always was, always will be Aboriginal land according to the activists, and this is what The Voice will deliver to mainstream Australia.
And you know,
will deliver, you know? Okay, don't you come back to me in a couple of years' time, you'll be, oh, Rowan, yeah, Rowan did warn us about this. Don't vote for The Voice.
I mean, it's great to bring these things up as examples of what will happen federally, but the fact that these things are happening on a state level is absolutely shocking. This is just like Queensland and the Queensland Liberals going along with the idea of this whole essentially reparations program. We've got this here in WA, and you know that there's going to be a little bit of a cost, I'm sure, attached to every one of these applications, and I wonder where the money's going to go there. So that's a whole other set of questions here. But no. There's also fascinating stuff James Campbell has today in the Sunday News Corp tabloids. Basically, and this is exactly what we've always said on the show, people are afraid to say no in focus groups and stuff because they don't want to be painted as racist or reactionary. And they're being told, or what the experts are saying now, is that this whole push to call anybody no, who's a no voter, a racist, is blowing up wildly in the faces of the Yes campaign.
Well, they're doing every tactic that we saw during Brexit. They're now saying that foreign investors are going to look at us. Foreign investors want another layer of bureaucracy and more hurdles for their projects.
Can you imagine? This was so funny. The guy from West Farmers says this. He says, "Oh, the world's going to watch, and they're not going to invest in Australia if we don't pass the voice." Who are the biggest investors in Australia? China? Do you think in the Politburo in China saying, Premier Xi, I'm sorry, but the terrible racist Australians have voted against an Indigenous voice to Parliament. Oh no, well we better invade Taiwan next or something. Who knows?
Well, I want to go back to something Rita was just saying, because I think it's the absolute crux of the matter. And this is the fact, as Rita just said, but it's no longer your home. It's no longer your house. It's no longer your land. This law in WA is just sort of passed. Nobody really kicked up a fuss about it. We certainly didn't hear much about it. And yet suddenly, and this is the absolute heart of the matter, you either believe that property rights in this country belong to the individual who has paid for them, or you believe that all land across the continent of Australia belongs to Indigenous Australians and that sovereignty was never ceded. Now, it's fine if you believe that, and I like Lydia Thorpe because she gets up in Parliament and says, that's what I believe. But how many Australians out of goodwill are thinking, well, I'm going to vote for the voice out of goodwill, not realising they are going to see, they will see, if this sort of stuff goes ahead, Rita, you don't own your land anymore. Remember how Twiggy Forrest tried to put in something or other, and suddenly there was a dream serpent, an imaginary serpent, that suddenly, we can't do our thing.
Well,
you're going to be putting in your swimming pool and you're going to be told, well, sorry, there's a dream serpent there. You can't put the pool there. No swimming pool.
We already have these sort of hurdles for a lot of commercial large-scale developments where they have to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to get approvals in this area. But to impose this on individuals who just own a quarter-acre block, we're not talking about vast land holdings of 1,000 hectares here. It is absolutely appalling, and we are seeing these state-based treaties that the Liberals, the weak-willed, gutless, spineless, principleless Liberals at state level backing. The Victorian Liberals backed the treaty, the Queensland Liberals backed the treaty.
And this is why I hate to say it, but I'm sorry, when Dominic Perrottet stuck the Aboriginal flag on top of the Harbour Bridge, he was basically saying, there you go, it's not our land anymore. Now, it's fine if you believe that, but stand up and say that clearly. But what Labor and the left do is they're doing it through deception, tricking you. As James said, you feel, oh, I'm racist if I don't vote for the Voice. No, if you vote for the Voice, you're handing sovereignty away. That is the end goal, according to the Uluru Statement, James.
And it's funny, that Uluru Statement, a lot of the language around the spiritual connection, that comes from actually a case involving the Western Sahara that was brought in 1975, where this whole idea of spiritual connection to land was
the Love case in the High Court.
And you have written a lot about that in your magazine, The Spectator. But, I can imagine nothing worse for reconciliation in this country to tell ordinary Australians that their home is not their home, that if they want to put in a pool or a back shed or a new garage or an extension of the house, they can't do it because there is an Aboriginal activist group that's saying, no, you can't.
Absolutely.